Hello and welcome to The Word, bringing you the good news of Jesus Christ every day from the order of preachers around the world. Today is a memorial of St. John Paul II, Pope, and from the United States we hear from Katie Beadle Rice. Katie is a catechist who works with children using the catechesis of the Good Shepherd. She lives in Boise, Idaho, and her preaching today is entitled Tending and Feeding.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. After Jesus had revealed himself to his disciples and eaten breakfast with them, he said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" Simon Peter answered him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my lambs." He then said to Simon Peter a second time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Simon Peter answered him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." He said to him, "Tend my sheep." He said to him the third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was distressed that he had said to him a third time, "Do you love me?" And he said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep." Today is the memorial of Saint Pope John Paul II, and the Gospel fittingly focuses on the first Pope tradition gives us, Saint Peter. This is the last chapter in John's Gospel and the fourth and final appearance of the risen Lord that John records. First, he appears to Mary Magdalene, weeping at the empty tomb, and then to the disciples locked away in fear, and after that, once again to the disciples, this time with Thomas present, who believes after he is able to touch the wounds in Jesus' hands and side. This fourth and final appearance takes place on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. At the beginning of his public ministry, Jesus had called his first disciples, James and John, Peter and Andrew, away from fishing to follow him and become fishers of men. And now, at the end of the Gospel, much has happened since that first call. These four, along with many other followers of Jesus, have witnessed his travels throughout Israel. They've listened to his parables and eaten meals with him, hosted by Pharisees, tax collectors, and sinners. They've witnessed his care for the ailing, the outcast, the blind and lame. And they've seen him die and rise. And after all of this, Peter has returned to the sea. At the beginning of this final chapter of John, Simon Peter announces to the others, "I am going fishing." Is this the first time he has cast out a net since that fateful day when Jesus called him by name away from his occupation? Perhaps. And once again, after a fruitless night, Jesus calls from the shore, "Cast the net over the other side of the boat." And once again they listen to this voice and pull in a catch. When the disciples return to the shore with their fish, we have the only account in the Bible of breakfast taking place. And for only the second time in the Bible do we hear the words charcoal fire around which this breakfast is eaten. Recent brain studies have linked the sense of smell to the memory center of the brain. And so when we smell something, it brings us back in time even more than seeing a picture will. And so when Peter arrives on the shore to the smell of the charcoal fire, we can only imagine his reaction, transported back to the darkest moment of his life, huddled around a charcoal fire in the high priest's courtyard, where 3 times he was asked if he was a follower of Jesus, and 3 times he responds, "I am not." Around this new charcoal fire at the break of day, Peter is asked 3 questions again, and this time responds positively each time, "Yes, Lord, I love you." And to each of his responses, Jesus gives him a task. Feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my sheep. I wonder if Peter had gone back to the sea that day, thinking that after his betrayal and the night of Jesus' arrest, that he was no longer worthy to be considered a disciple, the rock on which Jesus' church was to be built, no longer suited to being the leader of the 12. But Jesus turns expectations upside down. He affirms Peter's role, but not to a leadership of domination or power or judgment. Instead, this is servanthood based on love and focused on the lowly and necessary tasks of tending and feeding. Perhaps it is not in spite of his failings, but because of them, that now Peter is able to take on this role. He himself has been the lost sheep, the one who scattered when the shepherd was struck down. And now, being found, he can understand that it is not by merit or strength or virtue that one may identify as a member of this flock. It is by accepting the radical love that looks upon weakness with compassion and meets sin with even more grace. Exactly 21 years ago, I was the most exhausted I have ever been in my entire life. My twin daughters were born on October 20th, 2004, and suddenly my every moment was taken over with the joy and the challenge of tending and feeding. Tending and feeding is hard and often invisible work to the wider world. There is no power, no glory, no riches that one attains, and yet there is also nothing better than tending and feeding the beloved. Jesus knew that. He lived it. He walked the earth and he tended to his broken flock and fed them, even with his very self. He's still doing it, in the Eucharist, of course, and through every act of humble love and service that creation incarnates. No matter what wounds and brokenness we have experienced, Jesus continues to look on us with compassion and to call us back to the essential vocation of each human, to love, to tend, and to feed.